good clap to this. Well, hello world, welcome to Raccoon Point Studios. I'm Sean Bombs, and today we have Big Muff, and Big Muff. These two are based off of this big old box, and this is a build your own clone that I built a few years back that's on one of my pedal boards. And this is Electro Harmonics Reissue, and this big boy stays on my wife's pedal board. She's a bass player, and this thing sounds amazing on bass. I figured since I have these three pedals, why not compare them? So if you watch the intro and paid attention, I'll let you know right now that each time it's changed a different camera angle, it was a different pedal and a different take. I played the same thing 3 times because my DI/reamp box needs some special loving. Something wasn't right with it. I don't know. I got to open it up and check it out. But so I had to play them 3 different times and try to get it as close as possible. But I was very surprised when I had the playback going. I didn't EQ anything. I didn't touch anything as far as the guitar goes, and they all sounded very similar on the settings that I had them. So go back and watch that. You'll see the Big Muff. This is very big in the beginning, and then I keep going from this to this to this, and you just watch it and you can see which of these pedals is kind of in focus at the time, and that's how you know which one was being played at which time. I know it could be confusing, but just have fun with it. So doesn't matter. The point was that you can get a similar sound with all 3 of these, and it really depends on, do you want to build your own and say, hey, I built my own pedal and have fun with it and figure out how things work? Or do you want something that's built by a manufacturer and still small enough to fit on a pedal board? Or do you want this big boy and pretend you're stepping on landmines and all that stuff? You know, it really depends on the player and your aesthetic, I guess. But I will say that they all are very similar. I feel like the newer reissue has a little bit more grit, can get a little bit hairier than the original. And the one that I built is closer to the original, I feel. The knobs aren't all going to act the same. And even these older Big Muffs all are going to sound a little bit different from what I'm told. So take it with a grain of salt, anything that I do in this video. Moving forward, let's just go through the sounds that I had it set for when you heard the intro. We'll start with the original, and I'm just going to play whatever, and we'll see what happens. They sound pretty close. I'm sure there's some people out there with golden ears that are gonna go through all the little intricacies of whatever and find the differences, and that's all gravy. But and I'm, you know, I can be a tone snob as well, but for general purpose fuzz, they all sound pretty similar. I will say that the Big Muff original, when you really dial in some different sounds, it can be a little bit more pleasing, more pillowy sounding, I guess, creamier, where these, when you pull back, might not get as pillowy and stay full as this does. When I mess around with the tone knobs, they're going to react different and all that stuff, and the volume is going to be a little different here and there. So that being said, I'd be happy with any of these on my pedal board. Maybe not the original just because it's so damn big. Let's go through some tones on the original. These all had the sustained distortion all the way up. So let me turn this all the way down and see what happens. Okay. Let me turn this noise suppressor off. Have it afterwards, just so you know, because a lot of people say that when you throw anything with a buffer in front of these muffs, they're not going to sound exactly the same, or they're not going to have the same edge, which I find to be true. Not sure if this has a buffer in it, but I know that Boss does, and it definitely wasn't good beforehand. It's good. It's fine after the muff though. That's with the distortion all the way down. Let's check it out with the tone knob all the way down. All the way up. Distortion halfway. So pretty crazy the change in tone when I messed around with the tone knob, how much the low end blooms on this thing, and it also seems to sound a lot louder, probably because it's a lot more low end, and then it thins out on the other side. And that's basically what all these muffs do as far as the tone knob. You know what, I'm gonna just see what happens at everything at noon on this and see if I can make it sound like that. So. So not exactly the same, but they're close, you know, they're very close. So let me try the fuzz all the way down on the build your own clone, and I am going to just see what that sounds like, and let me get the volume up to a decent level. My clean channel. Let's try it. Tone all the way up. Tone all the way down. I might be wrong because when I hear this in the recording, it might sound different than what's coming out of the amp, but in here, it sounds like the Big Muff original volume gets a little bit bigger when the tone is dialed all the way back. In comparison to this, it's a little bit more controlled. Alright, so let me try sweeping this tone knob while I play that E again, like I did on this one. So there you could really hear a difference in how the tone knob reacts, especially with the fuzz in a middle state. Let's check out the reissue. And I'm just trying to see what each one does. Whoa, that's pretty close. It's actually really close. I did not know that. See, this is my first time putting these all together like this. So I am discovering things while you are discovering things. So let me try the sustain up further, and I'm gonna mess around with the tone. So they sound similar, but I think the reissue sounds tighter. Like I said before, these older ones are going to have aging parts inside, and I know from the interwebs that they might not even sound alike when having two of the same one next to each other. Because of that, or because of they might have thrown a different part in here and there depending on availability. What else could I do? I mean, they sound pretty close. This does have a little bit more of a fuller sound. I also feel like with this one, it lets a little bit of the clean sound through somehow. I don't know how to explain it. It's almost as if there's like a little bit of your clean tone coming through, almost like a parallel thing happening. Not a lot, but enough. And maybe that's why this sounds so good on bass, because it's a lot of bass players will use an overdrive that has a blend knob on it, so they can let a little bit of the original bass through. So you know, because a lot of times when you add distortion, it can cut a little of the low end out. You won't get the full low end octave down there, and this seems to let some of it through. And also, I forgot to mention in the beginning that the bass was also going through this original Big Muff for that track. The only other test I'm going to do is rolling back the volume knob on the guitar and having these all full on distortion. So these all have their knobs in a different spot, so it's really hard for me to go between them because they're all a little bit different. Alright, so I have them similar again, and I'm going to do the volume knob rolled back a little bit just to see if it's usable that way. Don't mind the hum. playing around with them on the fly, trying to click them. It's tough, but I did it. So, you know, they're very close. They're very close. If it's aesthetics and you want that old vintage style box and you don't mind shelling out the money for something that you might need to work on, you might need to clean up, might fail on you at any time. I don't know. These boxes are pretty strong. These pedal. This is a soft switch, kind of. It's like a, I don't know if you can see that, but this pushes in and then stays in. So let me do that first. See? It just stays in. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, you can see it from that. Boom, boom. This is a hard click. I hate it. It's really hard to press, especially on a small pedal like this. It's not that good. The search is never ending. If you know, you know. If you don't, you will know. Welcome to the world of guitar tone chasers. And then, what was I saying? Oh, this click. This is harder. I don't know why, but does it really matter? I don't know why I'm doing that test. Hopefully this was insightful to somebody out there. My take on it is you don't need to go out and buy the vintage one unless you really want a vintage one, because sometimes we just like to collect things. But like I said, my wife actually loves it. I think she loves it because she wears boots on stage, you know what I mean? So it's easier to click on and off this big pedal as opposed to something small like this or something like this. So if I helped you out in any way, please consider hitting subscribe. Definitely hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.